I've had the Gemini 2x1 lights since they were first announced from Light Panel. I built wooden boxes for them, and they've been riding in the back of the truck, but you can see here, they're pretty darn big. Fantastic lights, but now there are smaller, more adequate solutions for the type of work I do. Been using the Amaran F22s. I really like them a lot. I have the bicolor version, so I think I'm going to buy 2 more 22Cs that have RGB, and at that stage, I don't really need the Geminis anymore, so they're in storage, and I've put them up on Facebook Marketplace here in San Antonio if anyone's interested. Next stop was our call time for some evening news live shots. Get my son responsible for all of the lighting while I set up camera. I'm going to get him confident lighting these types of situations, and then once we've done a few more, I'm also going to hand off getting the camera and audio placed, finding frame, powering up. White balance, focus, framing, pretty background, adequate throw. You can see here I did a longer throw because it was a narrow field of view in the background. I didn't want to see the parking lot in frame. So normally I'm only about 6 feet from the talent to the lens, but here I'd say I'm maybe 12 or a little bit more.
Need the political violence back at their home country. And as you mentioned, now the federal government...
One hit to go. In about 40 minutes we had to reposition. So we have a background. There was no lighting back there. I have an Aperture 300 behind the van to light up the forest. Looks like I only need to run it at 15% full flood. And then Beck and I are going to pack up the truck, and we have to drive up to Grapevine, right by DFW Airport, 4.5-hour drive tonight. I think I'm going to get as far as somewhere between Temple and Waco, spend the night, and we have a late call, noon tomorrow, so my goal is get up, go to the gym, take a shower.
Not only state troopers before the fishing game to the Florida borders also coming as the United States is now weighing options to possibly transport Haitian migrants to a migrant center in Guantanamo for processing.
We made it about halfway. The weather was deteriorating. We got to the point here, bad thunderstorm, poor visibility, about 2300. So ended up stopping at a rest stop and spent the night in the van. It was 63 degrees. Figured by the time I checked into a hotel, checked out, all that, I was going to burn an extra hour. And I was super tired at that point. So had a great night's sleep as it rained. On to the next day, back to the distribution center. Saw in a previous vlog. Had to get some aerial drone shots of before and after the inventory was relocated to this new location. Was also planning to do some gimbal shots on the FX3, but the drone works so well, I just did like head height drone shots in addition to the overheads and ended up leaving the FX3 on the cart. Getting my Part 107 and adding drone capabilities has been the right move for me. I had no need to do this when I was based in California. I was working on bigger projects and didn't want the extra responsibility of flying in addition to just being the DP. But now that I'm in a smaller market, I'm really enjoying it. Being kind of the one-man band does all. You know, in this case, I could work all day just flying the drone, and I have my son available as a spotter. A few metal shavings on the circuit boards. Only a few. There we go. So self-tapping metal, sheet metal screws, and I'm just finding an existing ventilation hole that are a little bit smaller. Just level, yeah. Eventually I think I'll put thread lock on these so they don't rattle loose, but for now, I feel pretty good with this. Let's see, that's not... I'm gonna put a third one, maybe not, maybe I'll just go with 2. I see I'm not the only one with bad luck. It is dumping rain, and these guys just stripped the roof of my neighbor's house. Long overdue upgrade to the BM210. Now that I've got a little cheese plate mounted to the back of the monitor, I can permanently affix the quad split box. My son 3D printed this bracket to hold it. I wanted to use socket cap screws, but they didn't have any in stock, so they're just wrench hex head instead. And then unfortunately the Paralinx receiver will have to swivel down to fit in the case. So I think what I'll do is I'll just keep this T-handle in the case to make that mod each time it's in use. I'll just stow that in position. Maybe I can switch that for a thumb screw. I just saw a couple of those in the garage. Let me see if I can find it. All right, this is the idea, but unfortunately the one I have is too short. I think it's 1 inch, so I think I need 1 1/4 inches. The consumables for the P-Touch printer, if you buy a different brand, generic brand instead of Brother, I've found the off-brands do not adhere well to Pelikans. They'll stick for a bit, but they eventually peel. But the Brother original, a little bit more expensive, it sticks for years and years. So a couple new cases added to the truck, the Sony 200-600 in a Harbor Freight case. I finally bought a hard case for my drone that was off of Amazon. It also holds a smart controller and 5 batteries and a landing pad. And then the E-mount primes was labeled with non-Brother branded tape, and it all fell off. So just reprinted those. I built this new cabinet on the right to just make things a little more accessible. This side had been just a pile of crap. The grip gear being the most problematic. So I have these 5-in-1 Impact, but I think Godox is the same thing, just different brand, rebranded. 24x36, like road rag kit with dots and fingers, and then an 18x24. I made a slot just for those. Got these other shelves that are semi-modular. Right now I've got 4 Manfrotto nesting stands. That's a Shimura. This next shelf down holds a bunch of medium to small 5-in-1 reflectors. I think I have 6 of them shoved in there. And then up above is a slot that can either hold stands, or right now I have just 2 Walmart camping chairs. My biggest 5-in-1 reflectors that turn into like a 4x6 approximately foot. I have 2 of those up top, just kind of resting up there. And then I'll walk around to the side door, show you the other side of that rack. And then it holds 2 Pelican 1650s, I think, are what these are. These are my monitor cases. It's so faded. I think maybe it's a 1600. At any rate, I can do 2 deep. So I'm thinking I'll keep the FX3 up here so it's easily accessible. My second 21-inch Flanders that rarely comes off the truck is nested forward. And then this area, I don't think I'm going to build shelving, because like every job, I'm pulling some cases, adding other cases. I don't have room to keep all my gear on the van all the time. So I think I'm just going to leave this as an open cube area where I can stack cases. So right now I've got the cases we went through. I've got 3 Apple boxes, nesting sets, 2 Aperture 60s, 2 Aperture 300s, and 2 Amaran F22Xs, and no cameras back here. Normally I keep an FX9 and an EX3 back here, in addition to all the other stuff. But I haven't decided. I want the live view. That always lives on the truck. The FX3 is permanent. And the grip and stands are permanent, but pretty much everything else rotates job to job. Oh, and the motivation behind building this was I had a on-stage cart vertically on the right here, which was a big nuisance to install, and then a small R2 rock and roller that just floats on the top of the pile. So this slot down here has those 2 carts. One's upside down, one's upright. So the way they're nested at the moment, the R2 has to come off first, but I can pack it in either order to keep 2 carts in there. And then the sandbags, there's just a bonus extra space. I can also fit 1 full-size set of nesting apples in place of these sandbags. That one's unzipped. And then I had this dead space on the right that just kind of became a nice little catch-all to hold all my 25 and 50-foot stingers. The hi-hat needs to permanently live on the truck, and I remove it all the time because it's just an awkward item that doesn't stack well. And then I get out on a shoot and realize I don't have it and I need it. So I've been meaning to for years to build 2 little slots upside down in this little 2x4 area. You can see I've got 2 6-foot pieces of pipe up here. But I'm going to add this hi-hat under here because it'll flush out. With the adapter removed, it's only going to stick. It's going to be, yeah, it'll be flush, looks like, with the 2x4s without the Mitchell to 100 adapter. I have this HyperCore battery that will not charge. I tried 2 different model chargers and it's just stuck here at 20%, 37 minutes. So I don't know if these can be serviced or if I just need to replace it. Editing together this week's vlog and realized I never showed the front side of the new shelf So on the front side here, I got this little slot where I can land some additional items. So I've got 2 small size Bowens soft boxes, and then the rain cover for my FX9, which, oh yeah, this is the second time it's happened, falls. So I'm gonna have to put like a little lip, like a fiddle on here to stop from falling forward. I used to have the plywood came up all the way to the bunk frame, but then I elevated the bunk, so now I've got this air gap, which also part of my plan for elevating the bed was to be able to have C-stands installed with heads and arms on the stands. And they're a little tedious to remove from the backside. So I need to come in here with a cutting tool, and I'm gonna come down a little bit just so I have some more clearance to lift up and over. And you can see here, one of these rattled loose. My son's got to learn the lesson that I learned, that all these grip heads have to be tight when they're put back in the truck. Otherwise, they fall apart when driving. So I think the washer fell behind the refrigerator. But I'll leave that for my son to figure out tomorrow. So we're in this crazy springtime weather, Texas weather right now, where I've been working in the morning, and it was 47 degrees when we left the house, and when we got home at the end of the day, it was 80 degrees. So we start the morning in hats and winter jackets and boots because it's been raining and muddy, and we're working in the mud and grass in the field. And then by the end of the day, you're down to t-shirts and jeans. So we'll see what tomorrow's got in store for us, but I get to see some of this week's adventure next week. Thanks for watching.